with some of the university presidents and chancellors in the University of Missouri system, also with Lincoln, is here today. Had a great meeting talking about school, how they were managing it to open up the colleges and campus, all the precautions they've taken. A lot of information they're putting out every day for the students, for the faculty, for the parents. And then what are we going to do if something should occur? Are we prepared for that? So a lot of conversation was to do with that. And the main thing is, how can I help? How can I support from the governor's office, from the state level? And how we're going to move forward dealing with the virus, plus continue the education so we don't get behind in the state of Missouri. First of all, let me say all the chancellors, presidents are just doing an extremely good job. Let me just set off with that. But I assume they would be doing that, and I think they're well prepared for the school season to start, for students to get back on campus. I think they're anxious. I think students are anxious to get back on there. One of the important things that I think that we talked about today too, that I was very impressed with, is we talked about moving forward. You know, what are we going to do once we get past the virus? Are we prepared to get right back into the role of the economy? Are we getting back into the role of where we're going, where we was in January and February? Can we pick that pace up again? A lot of the universities had a lot of things on the table during the budget that was really going to help with the workforce development piece and put people back to work that we had on that. That's been put on hold because of budget, but all of that's still there. If the economy comes back, we're going to try to get that money out the door, because I think it's important to remember it was a withhold, it wasn't a cut. You know, a lot of times we refer to that as a cut. It wasn't a cut. That money is still there. If we can accumulate the money, the economy goes back, we're going to be able to backfill for the universities. Since I've been governor, one of the priorities I've had is higher education, K through 12, spending at higher levels than it's been in a long time, trying to get them back up to the speed they need, because I need all of those universities to be at full steam, so we're in workforce development as we move forward. I need them out there every day producing young men and women to go into the workforce. And that is the key to our state, and we have to get back to that. So I think some of the presidents, chancellors are here. I'm going to let them have an opportunity to say a few words, and then we'll open it up for questions a little bit if you guys want to ask some questions there. So let me start with Chancellor, or President Wolford from Lincoln University.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just wanted to say thank you to Governor Parson for his commitment to higher education. It becomes more and more obvious to my colleagues and I each day that he is really committed to higher education and workforce development, and making sure that the people of Missouri, the community of Missouri, and citizens of Missouri have every opportunity to be successful. And he reminded us today that although we are experiencing this pandemic, that we should also be looking at the successes that we will have in the future, the successes that we are having now. So I just want to thank Governor Parson for what he's doing for higher education and his commitment to higher education, and particularly to Lincoln University.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon. We started off the meeting talking about the governor's concern for the welfare of our students, faculty, and staff. And like Ken, we are very, very mindful of a safe opening. Many of our students want to come back for that in-person teaching, learning, and engagement opportunity. And the governor has shared with us the plans that he has for testing in the state, which has increased dramatically, and that will enable many of our students, faculty, and staff to get tested. And it's also very important for us that we have a very important mission of not only educating the next generation, but also creating the workforce for this state. And for us to bring back the economy in a way that is safe for all of our constituents is a key priority. So I want to thank the governor for this opportunity and look forward to working with him.
So good afternoon. My name is Rainwater. I am the Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at the University of Missouri St. Louis. We had a very engaging discussion today, and I greatly appreciate Governor Parsons for having convened this meeting. We were able to learn from each other as institutions of higher education in the great state of Missouri. We found that, of course, we are all facing very similar challenges, but we know that we can learn from each other, and we appreciate having the level of engaged and candid discussion about what we need to do to move forward. One of the things that we need to emphasize is that when we start in the fall, that we need to be safe in the fall. And so the part of this is getting the word out there. We believe in having our strong quality programs. We will have a mixture of blended courses as well as online courses, but we will be ready when the fall semester begins. And again, I thank Governor Parson for this meeting.
Hello, my name is Mo Degani. I am the Chancellor at Missouri University of Science and Technology. I also want to thank the Governor who's done a lot of possibility thinking on how the universities need to operate and how to operate safely. All of us have had task forces to deal with this pandemic, and we are all prepared for an on-campus, in-person fall semester with all precautions in place. We cannot wait, I tell you. I have never in my entire academic life seen the campus life be so desirable. From parents, from the students, all the feedback that we get, everybody is ready for the campus life. And like it was said earlier, we will have a safe campus. We are dealing with this as a fact of life. We cannot hold progress, whether it's education or research. We are very much research focused at our university, and we are engaging our initiatives that were on hold for a few months, but we are ready to move forward. And the governor just assured us that his thinking is lined up with what we want to do, and we are grateful for the governor's office for the assistance that we have received in every which way, whether it was communication, encouragement, and support, direct support that we received from the governor's office. So we are prepared, we are ready, we are cautious. We have many scenarios that we have planned in place, and hopefully we will have an eventless fall semester with all the precautions that we have in place. Thank you, Governor, for all your work.
Before I open up for questions, let me just remind everyone, especially the media day, if you can help with this, I would extremely appreciate it, because as we start the school, whether it's K through 12 or higher education, testing and contact tracing is critical. We talked about that today. They know how important that is, but I want to give a push again. The CARES Act funding that we pushed out to the county levels, those counties need to get that money out, and they need to really put priority at testing and contact tracing to make sure, one, that these schools can open back up safely, and two, they remain open. But they need to take portions of that, get it out there, use it, and where it really helps these universities and our high school students. So again, I'm encouraging that today, and I appreciate you spreading that out there to make sure we get that message out. So I'll open up for questions on this, Kelly. We'll answer a few.
You need to speak louder so they can raise the microphones. Go ahead.
Hi, Governor. So many of the administrators there talked about support that the state would be giving, that your office would be giving. What will that support look like? Is it financial? Is it help with testing? Is it just guidance from the health department? What will that support look like?
I think all of the above. Well, whatever we can do. If you go back to before COVID-19 happened, we were supporting higher education more than it had been in several years, making sure, because they were actually part of that workforce development plan that we had in the governor's office. So I think whether it's the Department of Health, whatever we can do to help them to be safe, what we can help them do financially through the CARES Act. We know there's another round coming that maybe is going to help. Any guidance we can, again, waive or reduce for them to be able to get back in those classrooms and help the administration. All of those above things. Look, none of them back there is bashful about asking for your son. So, and that's why they were here today, to say, hey, how can we help? And I want to make sure I'm doing my part to listen to them and to offer the services we can. So everything we can, within reason, we're going to try to help them.
Have you guys talked about a scenario where there is an outbreak, specifically with a large amount of students, and what that looks like, especially when living in dorm situations, and then having that 2 week of class possibly with quarantine, how that would look?
Most certainly we have, and I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to answer a few questions like that, but I want to let probably one of the presidents answer that, but I will tell you every one of them has a plan in place, what they're going to do. But I think one of the things we talked about there, I think a lot of it too is through the education channels. When I talk to the infectious disease doctors every week, to make sure everybody understands what the social distancing is 6 feet apart, in a 15-minute time period. We leave that part out a lot, where we just say social distancing. But they're well aware of that. So they're well prepared. So if somebody comes in, matter of fact, one of the scenarios, they said, what if the teacher comes to me and says, hey, I got a student that's positive, what do I do? Do I shut the whole class down? But they've all got a plan in place for that. So I'm going to let one of them probably get into the details of that, but we discussed that.
Kelly?
Governor Parson, do you have any reaction to the protests that were happening just a little while ago?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was in St. Louis, just got back. On the protesters that was here.
The protesters that were here about an hour ago about Senate Bill 1.
Yeah, you know, I'm not for sure what the protest is so much in this special session. We're talking about violent crime. I mean, I would think anybody would be supportive of that legislation, and, you know, disappointing to try to make an issue. I think one of the things I heard was out of the juvenile certification was one of the issues. We're talking about violent criminals here. We're talking about armed criminal action. We're not talking about petty theft and things like that. So, again, I think we're talking a special session is directed towards violent crime, and for me, that's what it's all about. So, I would hope they would understand that.
Thank you.
Philip?
Governor, do you plan to expand the state's testing capacity to accommodate students coming back onto campus?
I'm sorry.
Do you expect to expand the testing to accommodate students coming back to campus?
Well, I don't know that I don't know practically if you can test every student coming back. I mean, right now, we're doing 94,000 tests, 94,000 a week now in the state of Missouri. And when we were 6 weeks ago, we were doing 5. I don't know how practical it would be or how you could do that. I'd say the university of Peru got that in plan in place. I don't think they're planning on testing every student that comes back. But again, I'll let them answer that. But I think what they do have is they have different apps they're going to use, different ways that those students are going to be self-checked. And if any of the symptoms come up, they're not going to be allowed to go in there. I know the University of Missouri, for one, has got an app in there to go into a classroom, whether you're faculty, whether you're a student, you have to pass that test before you can get in. If you can, you have to leave and be able to get to where you can. But President Moon could probably give you more details on it. But again, I think they're all well prepared for that. But I don't know that they'll test every student that comes in. But, you know, if they've got an outbreak, we're going to be prepared for that.
All right, we'll take one more, then we'll let the presidents come in. Do you have one more for the governor? Okay.
Yesterday you mentioned that DESE did release some more guidance on frequently asked questions when it came to secondary and elementary education, and that was a hefty list and it gave a lot of information. So one of the things was if a positive case happened in that classroom, what would they do? They would take them out and try to isolate them from the rest. So when it comes to students in a larger, higher learning environment, not being able to remove them from that one single class. Did you talk about that scenario when it came to that contact tracing in other classes they would be potentially exposed to?
Yeah, well, I think you can remove them from the classroom. I think they, again, they'll talk about that when you talk to some of the president, but they've got probably, all of them's got areas set up where they can quarantine and how they would deal with those students if that happened. Not only that, how they can continue the education for the student. So it's not like you're just going to go there and put you in a quarantine building. They're still going to be able to do their studies to do that. And they've got that. It's, I'm just telling you, it's pretty impressive as you sit around there to realize how much thought's went in there and how much they've done to make sure those kids are going to have a problem to get an education. And that's what it's all about, keeping them safe and getting an education. I think you got a lot of people back here that will ask you questions on that in more detail on that. So thank you all very much for being here. Appreciate anything you can do to help push out the message that we need these local levels to be utilizing that CARES Act funding, especially when it comes to contact tracing and testing. We want to really be able to push that out there. All right, we'll open it up. You want to call
President
one
Choi,
time?
if he's available.
So the question that you asked, let me share with you that all universities in Missouri will require students and faculty to wear face covering inside the classroom and to be socially distant. And under that scenario, if we have one student that tests positive, then the contact tracers will determine in that case that the interactions in the class doesn't meet the definition of post-contact. So I think they'll be fine. But with so many students coming back, we need to make sure that they follow all of our procedures. But if they don't, there's a chance that they may find themselves being infected with COVID. So all of our universities have quarantining space so that students can be moved to that space. In addition to that, how we determine when we're going to be, let's say, going back into remote operation really depends on the disease spread within that community and the capabilities of our hospital system to be able to treat the patients. and that all of our universities are near major hospitals. And for Mizzou, we have our own hospital, so that we have the capability, if we had to convert 400 beds for COVID patients. So we're taking every safety measure, but it's very important for students, faculty, and staff to follow the procedures at the university and also when they go.
All right, any other questions from any of the other presidents or chancellors? All right, Lincoln? President? There you go. Philip has a question for you, I believe.
Hi, Philip.
Did the subject of athletics come up today as far as fans being paid or not?
Excuse me, I can't.
Subject of athletics, did it come up today and about how you might handle fans?
No, athletics did not come up.
I have a question for President Choi.
Okay, President Choi?
Yes.
Yes, President Choi.
Hi, Roger.
Hi. Just wondering if you are aware of a kind of sense of concern about students returning to the university and the community with the school board considering that when setting their start date and other things.
That's right. So when the students do come back, we need to be mindful that they are provided with precautionary efforts that the university has instituted, including going through a mandatory training on COVID preparation, and that is a requirement. Mandatory training on how to take your temperature to see if you have any of the symptoms, and using an app that will signify whether you can come to the classroom or not. For those students that cannot come to the classroom, then there will be an option to take the online component for that particular session for, let's say, 2 weeks. And then after they get the all clear, they'll be able to come back. But as we think about COVID, I want to put things into context. In Boone County, there have been about 1,300 positive cases, and there have been 4 deaths. And having 4 deaths obviously is tragic, but 1,296 people did recover. And so with good care and early detection, the treatment can be provided. And so we want to put these things into context and put it into perspective.
All right.
Is there any way we could do one more question for Governor Parson if you're still out there?
Governor Parson, are you still back there?
I think he went to the next meeting.
Okay, he's under that. All right, I think that's it. Thank you very much all for being here. You bet.
Thanks so much.
You bet. Good
You
to
know
see
what? He's here.
That's
Okay.
Just for you.
One more question.
Sorry. Boone County just expanded their mask order county-wide. Do you think that's an appropriate move with schools starting to reopen?
They expanded to what?
They expanded their mask ordinance. Do you think that's appropriate with more students coming in with school beginning to start?
Well, I'm not sure what their decision process would be, why they did that. I hate to speculate on what that is. I don't know what's because students were coming back. I wouldn't think so, but I don't know to do that. But if they decide they want to expand the mask order, that's up to Boone County and the city to do that. We've said it all along.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.